tactically they could never win a war. Why they could never win a war? Why was it done there? But our generals, our military leaders, unfortunately, didn't think it that way because, all of these. Look, I'm giving you my very honest assessment of what things are. And because all our military leaders, they have been commissioned after the 1971 war, all they have seen is 30 years of counter-terror operation. So there was no focus on the Chinese side, whereas we have a disputed border with China and the focus should have been there. So alarm bells should have rung in 2015 itself that with this theater command they have created, they intend getting the troops there. We didn't do that. Thereafter, another thing what happened was that we should have noticed that the Americans, look, I'm going very fast because I'm wanting to say a lot in 20 minutes so that there's enough time for questions. That is the whole idea. So if there is anything that needs to be explained, I'll be happy to take it on later. So in 2014, what happened was that the American military, which started seeing the Chinese, the PLA as the competitors, they realized that they had actually moved to the next level of war, which is what we call the war of artificial intelligence and autonomy, which in a sense is a robotic war. So they had started their training in 2018 as far as PLA was concerned for the robotic war after Doklam, once they came with their troops and they occupied the Western Theater Command. Now, nobody understood here that, look, this is what is going on. They are training for the artificial intelligence. And this, in my estimation, they hope to accomplish by the end of 2022 or somewhere in the middle of 2023. The point that I am making is very simple, that by middle of 2023, Xi Jinping will be ready with the new war, which the world has never seen, which they called intelligence-sized war to fight against India. Now, the question is, will he fight, won't he fight? Because to have a capability and capacity is one thing. The intention is something entirely different. So they will have the capability, in my estimation, by 2023. Now, the problem now that has come is that in the estimation of the Modi government, it is being thought that like earlier times, if we have close ties with America, that puts a pressure on China. It is not being realized that China today not only is a rising power, it has become a risen power. It is a risen power precisely because of which there is a technology war which is going on between US and China. It is a consequence of that risen status of the Chinese. In other words, the world is between orders. The world is between orders from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. And in my estimation, by the middle of this century, we will again be looking at a unipolar order. So when you are between the orders, and the key driver for the order, the change of order, are your disruptive technologies. So the Indian military and the Indian government should understand the importance of artificial intelligence and disruptive technologies, which the PLA is using in a big way. But what the strategy that we have adopted is, the strategy is that we should now work closely with the Americans. Nothing wrong with that, except that we happen to be on the wrong side of history, which is not a good thing. Now, so what Prime Minister Modi did was that in his tenure, there are 4 military foundation agreements. He signed 3 of them, which the last government was hesitating to sign for various reasons. And the key reason was that if you sign all the agreements, the military agreements, then you give access to the US military. I mean, they will give you some information on what they think they need to give you, but they could. I'm not saying they will do it, but they have a capability today of cyber war, cyber attacks, wherein they can extract all your information and what you're thinking and your classified stuff. Nevertheless, we have done that. We have been doing Malabar exercises with them. Now, I'm coming to Quad. Now, what is Quad? Quad basically has assumed a very high status with the coming of the Biden administration. Why I say this is because in a period of 6 months, first we know that in March this year, there was a virtual Quad summit, all the 4 leaders, which is the US, Japan, Australia, and India. the heads of the government, they had a summit meeting which was virtual. And then in September, there was a physical meeting of the summit meeting of the Quad leaders, which something which has never happened before, right from the inception of Quad, which goes back to 2004, the tsunami which came in Indonesia. So the significance of this is that Quad will provide the policy guidelines to the Indo-Pacific strategy. Indo-Pacific strategy, please recall, in May of 2018, the Americans were smart enough to, to bring India on board. And what used to be called the Asia-Pacific strategy, they gave it a new name, Indo-Pacific strategy, basically giving India the centrality in the strategy. And the reason for centrality was very simple. Any power, if it has a navy which is limited to one ocean, it remains a regional power. If it has a navy which straddles two oceans, the Western Pacific and the Indian Ocean, it becomes a global power. So the whole idea is to curtail the options of the PLA Navy in the Indian Ocean region. And that is where the Indians are supposed to play a big part in two ways. A, because of their geography, and second, because of their professional 13 million strong, 1.3 million, 13 lakh Army, Air Force, and the Navy. So this is the reason that the Americans were very keen and they changed the name to the Indo-Pacific strategy. Now, Quad has certain more elements also. One is this element, which is in the form of Malabar exercises. Then they are also looking at technological denial to the Chinese. You must have heard about 5G Huawei being denied, and you must have heard about other, so basically there are 6-7 things which come under the Quad. The point I'm making is that today, India, in my assessment, basically, we are the weakest link in the Quad nations, in the 4 nations, in terms of military, in terms of technology, we are the weakest. Therefore, it will be, if they want to attack the Chinese, we are the weakest link. They can break the Quad if they go to war with India. So a possibility of a war is very much high. The only way to avert a war, as I explained, they'll be ready for the new war by middle of 2023, is for Modi to reach out to Xi Jinping and seek a Wuhan or a Chennai type of a summit meeting. So this is in a nutshell the whole thing. And thank you very much. I'm open to questions.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll just open the discussion. You have given a very good view about the Chinese preparedness, but I would like you to elaborate on the Indian preparedness to meet the Chinese aggression or whatever. That's question number 1. That how much India is prepared to take on to China, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so you see, as I just mentioned, that by 2023, the PLA will be ready for a war that the world has not seen. It's called intelligence war. It will be a robotic war. That means there will be minimal bloodshed or loss of life on the PLA side. India would be fighting a war which is 30 years old. So how exactly do you fight a war with an adversary who's 30 years ahead in technology and in concepts of war? Concept of war is how do you fight a war? So this is my answer. So in my estimation, and I have just given a book manuscript to my publisher, I have described this new war the world has never seen in about 120,000 words, is only on explaining this war, which the Indian military also is about at this stage. So we are not prepared at all for the war. We are only prepared for the information operation, as I said, the operations in the gray zone areas. Now, we have inducted something like 60,000 additional forces. You must have read in the news, we have brought in more tanks, we have brought in more guns. Basically, this is to constrain them from intruding further in peacetime. In peacetime is the key thing, not in war. The war will be entirely different. Thank you.
No, the follow-up to me is that what is the way forward? I mean, is the way forward is the war, or this negotiation is the way forward?
So nobody wants a war. Neither China wants a war, nor India should want a war. The way forward always is peace. And if we are talking of peace, today for the first time since independence, Since independence, something that no other government has done before, we are actually faced with a situation of two-front war, which has never happened before. So for us, the only way forward, I have thought a lot about it, is to make peace with Pakistan. There is no other way, and to cooperate with China. And thereafter, we have to build up our own capabilities and capacities. Staying close to Americans is fine. I mean, one has no problems with all that. As a regional power, you can have good relations with all the nations, but the key thing is I must emphasize, make we peak peace with Pakistan, and something has to be done about the 370 the new maps which have been created. That is the only way forward as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think that boundary demarcation between India and China is possible?
No, it is not possible. Why? Because, as I said, there is a sovereignty issue. Chinese have made it very clear. They called Arunachal Pradesh South Tibet, and today they have a capability after 2023 to actually claim that territory. And this is something you may find it very shocking, because nobody would have told you. This is something that I have argued in my coming book, and I have explained how it will be a short, swift war. And to explain further, this will be a software-driven, multi-dimensional, multi-domain, swift war, decisive war, a war of occupation.
Okay, my last question to you is that, do you see that LAC, will become a LOC for the time, just like what we are dragging on in Pakistan, this whole border of 388 kilometers, 3,488 kilometers is going to be converted into LOC?
It has already become a LOC. Why it has already become a LOC is because we have inducted more troops, and our worry is that we need to stop them in peacetime. You can only stop them in peacetime if there are no gaps. So it is already a LOC. If we have another one winter there, then what we have on the western front, we will have on the eastern front also, even before a war is joined. And think about the huge amount of money that the government is spending, keeping the troops at altitudes of 15,000 to 19, even 20,000 feet. It's not an easy task. I mean, if you recall, when suddenly the troops have to be inducted, we had to request the Americans to even give us their worn winter clothing, high altitude clothing, because we never had anything. We weren't prepared for this.
Yes, Rahul.
I can't hear you. You are muted.
Unmute your mic.
No, you are muted. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you hearing?
Yes, please tell me.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your impressive presentation. I have two questions, Mr. Parveen, and one is that when you say that India should, depend upon America for their help in case there is a war between India and China, but now India is circled by China, because Pakistan, Nepal, they are not very good friends. Even Bangladesh also, Malaysia also. In that case, if there is a war between India and China, do you think the American current president will support India? Number one.
Yeah, I mean, supporting India at the UN is meaningless, because China is a member of the Security Council. It has veto powers, so it means nothing. Now, insofar as China getting in our war, why will the Americans get in our war? They have no business to get in our war. They are basically, we basically, by being part of the Malabar, please think about it, we are now aiding them in their war. But they will not come in our war. We have to fight our war alone. Now, insofar as you rightly pointed out, that today we seem to be getting, the Chinese, because of the Belt and Road, all these countries that you mentioned, they are on board the Belt and Road Initiative. In fact, if you may recall, yesterday only, the Chinese have signed a MOU with the Bhutanese government also, where they want to resolve the border. So we are looking at our commercial irrelevance in our own neighborhood in 5 to 8 years. This is the scenario that we are looking at. and we seem to be oblivious about it. This is a subject for research, further research.
Thank you very much. And second, Mr. Parveen, now Russia and India has a very good relationship. And during 1970 war between Pakistan and India, Russia stood by India and also supported during the war, whereas American people supported Pakistan. But now the alliance, if in future the alliance between Pakistan and China becomes stronger, then India stands your assessment, because you say that India is not prepared as China is preparing itself. So what is your assessment? What Modi
5
government
minutes and
should
11 seconds.
take stock of the things?
So
5
the
minutes and
thing
7 seconds.
is that, first of all, 1971, you are talking of not Russia, you're talking of Soviet Union. That was a different relationship altogether. Russia is a different country. It's a successor country. We have warm relations with that country. We still depend a lot on the hardware on Russia, but Russia is not Soviet Union. Russia is now looking at possibilities, opening up their, diplomatic relations with Pakistan. They have very close relations with China. So the fact of the matter is that if there is war, and I just want to make one point about nuclear weapons, because everybody says that nuclear weapons to nuclear powers. Please understand, our nuclear weapons, we were always told, were meant for deterrence. Now, were the Chinese deterred? They came and occupied 1,000 square kilometer of our territory. Were they deterred by our nuclear weapons? The answer is no, because our nuclear weapons are useless. As far as they are concerned, it is of no consequence. And why I say that is, again, you see, I'll have to explain this, the big theory. I'll like to explain that why nuclear deterrence and conventional deterrence, they have to be kept separately.
Thank you.
Yeah. No,
Dr. Syed,
you have
can
to
proceed.
no, you have to unmute, please. Yeah, Sayed, you have to unmute. No, you are still muted.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
have about
Yeah.
3 minutes more left for this meeting. And in these 3 minutes, one question, if you can just quickly in 1 minute, if you can answer. The departure of US from the Afghanistan, will it have any impact on India-China equation? Will the
Yeah,
departure
so-
of US from Afghanistan?
So the answer is very simple, that Afghanistan, first of all, needs stability. And for that, all the countries which have their embassies there, which is Pakistan, Central Asian republics, Russia, China, India does not have its embassy. We have closed it there. US has closed it. So, first of all these countries are saying there's a need for an inclusive government and there's a need for stability. And the Taliban now are meeting with various countries because they need international aid for that. Long and short of the, the whole story, it's a big subject. To answer you is that, number one, I do not see much role for India and Afghanistan. That is one. The only role we could have had last time the first Taliban had come in 1996 till 2001. They will keep sending their hardened terrorists into Kashmir. It will not happen, because I can assure you, I am just back from Kashmir. The situation in Kashmir is not very good. We have to accept the reality. If we want to do research, we have to first face the truth. And the truth is that the Kashmiris feel betrayed and they are totally alienated.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. Thank you for your enlightening words. And we just have about 1 minute and more. And Rahul, you have to have your last word and give a vote of thanks to our distinguished guest today.
You are muted. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Syed Mudarni. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Parveen Sani. It was a really great pleasure to have very nice words from you, because you are expert defense strategic expert, and I've been listening you through YouTube also, and I am very happy that physically now I am seeing you. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And we really, I feel that we have many misconceptions about reading through the newspaper, because there are so much materials coming. Even if you read Global Times, then they say that if India goes by war, they will lose something like that. But thank you so much. You have really educated us, and we are grateful to you. And we look forward to invite you in future also. And we also thank from the center all the participants, and especially Dr. Syed Ali Musaida, my president of the center, who has been making lot of efforts to locate people like you, very good people like you on this center. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
Thank you,
all
Rahul.
of
I
you.
mean, last
Thank
word
you.
which I just wanted
Thank you.
to close with. I thank all the participants who have come and listened to